Alright, welcome to the video. So in this video, we're going to be essentially going over the next 3 days from April 1st to the 3rd, 2025, with a kind of fine-tooth comb in terms of looking at the symbolism, both numerical and otherwise. We're going to be looking at how essentially past those days, the symbolism, numerical and otherwise, just ceases to make sense. And I'm going to show you where we have a backstop and where I think the church has most certainly gone before. And yeah, it's going to be an interesting one. We have a lot to cover, so I'm going to try and tear through certain aspects of it. Before I begin here, I'll give a shout out to the potentially 2 or 3 new subscribers I met today in the library. This is definitely not the video to be beginning on in terms of being able to understand what's going on here. So essentially, we're going to be looking at enemy symbolism, or Satan and those who are of Satan, and how it aligns with biblical prophecy and understanding where we are in the biblical timeline. So definitely go back and watch earlier videos. This is not the video to start on, although I'll try and kind of help you along the way if this is the one you want to watch. But yeah, so before we begin here, I'm just going to read a quick and simple gospel. John chapter 3, verse 16. For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever believeth in him should not perish but have everlasting life. And that's all you have to do. All you have to do is believe in him. It doesn't matter how good of a person you've been in your life, or how often you've gone to church, or given to charity, or even prayed. The only thing that saves you is having belief in his sacrifice on the cross. It has nothing to do with us and everything to do with believing in what he did for us. It's a free gift, and all we have to do is accept it. It's what separates us from the 10,000 religions in the world that all believe that they are going to be saved through their own good deeds. We are saved through faith alone, and it is the only way you could possibly be saved. So it's a free gift. All you have to do is accept it. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to go to the notes here. And if I sound out of breath, I just got back from a run with Shiloh, and hopefully that appeased him, so he won't be demanding a walk during this video. But time will tell. We shall see. So moving forward in this video, we're just going to be going over first just assumptions that we have, which I think our assumptions is probably not even the right word. This is things we know at this point. So in terms of symbolism, the last full moon is, I 100% believe, the blue pie blood moon on 3/14/2025. This is the blue moon on the old Roman calendar. So I'm going to go to that now. So that is right here. So this, I believe, according to all their symbolism, is the last full moon here that the church is present here for. This is the quote-unquote last one from Leave the World Behind. So if we go forward to April here, their full moon is on April 13th. So in my opinion, it would make no sense at all for the church to be here, even roughly around that time period. And as we're going to look at in the next few points, their symbolism, both numerical and otherwise, falls apart on this day. And anything after this simply does not work at all. There's no way you could fit their symbolism within these days whatsoever. Everything past 4/3 here, it just falls apart. There's no way to fit the numerical symbolism together. And the moon phases, nothing just makes sense. So obviously, if we're here, I'll admit that I made a mistake and I was obviously wrong somewhere, and I'll have to recalibrate. But I truly don't believe the church is here for this. At this point, the trail of breadcrumbs in terms of symbolism, it just doesn't make sense. Anything past here makes no sense at all. So that's why I don't believe we're here for that. And I'm going to show you why the church is most certainly departing within these 3 days here. So we're going to go back to the symbolism here. Or the notes, my bad. So nothing past 4/3 makes sense symbolically. So I did make a post about this last night. So if you haven't seen that, go take a look at that. But in terms of moon phases, once we have passed 4/3, nothing makes sense. So this is essentially a first quarter moon. This is a first quarter moon, and anything past here has no real bearing in terms of symbolism. We've been shown nothing that has anything to do with this. And essentially, if you actually, I think I pulled up the post here. Yeah, so we'll go back to the post. So at the end of the knowing, when the believers are in quote-unquote heaven, this is the last moon phase you see. Same connotation within journey. That's the last moon phase you see. There it is again. And according to the Revelation 12 sign, there is the similar moon phase there. So if you look at the moon calendar for April, this is pushing it, in my opinion. These are still viable right here. This is not viable. In terms of the symbolism, it doesn't make sense past this point. So that's that point there. So the next point here is nothing past 4-4 makes sense numerically. That's your 314, 923, 1024, XX symbolism. I've done a kind of, in the military, it's called a torture test, in which you take a piece of kit and then you put it through the worst conditions possible to see if it holds up. So I've done a quote unquote, this is obviously not exact comparison, but I've put our numerical symbolism through all of these days, right up to 413. Nothing fits from the 5th onward, nothing at all. So none of that 923, 1024, anything fits here at all. So I don't possibly see how the church is here past this point. So this is the stepping off zone, quote unquote. So yeah, so we've covered that here. So next thing we're going to look at here is we're going to look at only 2 dates here. So obviously in the last video I did April Fool's April 1st, and I'm not going to cover the 2nd as well. We're just going to be looking at these days here. So I'm just going to give you the spoilers. This is where I believe the church departs. This is essentially for me like the numerical and symbolism backstop. I couldn't make anything make sense past this point. So it would reason that the church is gone before this. This has connotations of the sun destruction from 1 Thessalonians chapter 5, verse 3. Within these days, we get a kind of fitting symbolism for the sun destruction, which obviously the church is not here for. So for me, this is kind of like the last thing I could possibly see that fits in terms of symbolism. If we make it past this point, then we can just chalk up the assumption that the symbolism is just a misleading trail. Although I don't think it is. I believe these are the terms that are set for the enemy, and it's really not a long period of time. If you follow the beginning of iPet Goat 2 from the October 2nd wedding ring Rosh Hashanah eclipse to these dates right here, it's actually almost exactly 6 months. So in reality, it's not a very long trail, but for me, it ends right here. I couldn't make anything fit past this point at all. This is the backstop for me. So the first thing we're going to look at here is 4-3. So this for me is the date where I was able to fit all of our numerical symbolism and otherwise on the same day. I could make it fit if I stretched it for 4-1 to 4-2. So taking some kind of assumptions and giving a little bit of room for error, I could fit everything in these dates. For this one, I fit everything fairly easily. Right up here, things just start falling apart. Although they don't for certain things, which I'm going to cover right there. So that'll be a bit later. So 4-3, this is the only one that we're going to go over, and I'm going to show you how all the symbolism fits on this day. So your September 23rd, your 9-2-3 symbolism, the 9 is obviously 2025. Add the 2 to the 2 to the 5, we get 9. So there's our 9. And I'm going to show you how we're going to get our 2-3. So again, shout out to Plan B 626 for pointing this out. This was brilliant. So this pattern persists up until the 4th, but by this date, we've passed our symbolism. So it's only going to be applicable from the 1st to the 3rd. So if we take the day of the year, so April 3rd is the 93rd day of the year, and we reduce that. We add that, we get 12 and then 3. So that's reduced. We have the days left in the year at that point, 272. If we add that all together, we get 11. So there's our 311. That's our wolf moon symbolism, which we covered in the last video. So I think I might have had that pulled up. Let's just pull it up anyway. So wolf moon 2025. So in 2025, the first full moon, known as the wolf moon, will occur on January 13th. So we've already had that. However, that is going to be in reference to a date that'll occur later, which I believe is this date. So we have our 11-3 there. And if we add the 11, we have 2. So there's our 2-3 and our 9. That's checked off. So for me, this was the kicker, this next point here. This is the only date I was able to fit this on here and for it to make perfect sense. So as as we covered earlier, Hebrew is read from right to left. So as English is obviously left to right. So if we do this right to left, we have third quarter. So from that, we can get our pi which is our, oh, I already have it below here. 314, we can get pi, we can get our third quarter moon. Everything fits with this date here. And as we're going to see, there's going to be some symbolism pointing towards it. So everything fit there. So for this here, I'm not going to go over this as in its entirety. You can pause it and kind of look over it. So in essentially, we can still chalk up this date to being Nisan 4, which is our 104, given that we're going from the moon sliver sighting. So the moon sliver was sighted in Israel on March 30th in the evening. So from sunset to sunset, 30th to 31st, there's our Nisan 1 right there. So if we go by that pattern, we're in Nisan 4 from the before sunset in Israel. So in the West, this is like around noon to morning, depending on your time zone. So we are still in Nisan 4 on this date, but just in the morning. So it would make sense that the church is here until that sunset, and then boom, church is gone. All our symbolism is fulfilled. So moving down from that, obviously I covered here 104 just leads to 1024XX. That's in all the videos. This one's very interesting. I made a post about this in a speech by Obama where he said the Red Wedding. So if you're not familiar, that's from the Game of Thrones series. A lot of people die. That's all I'll say. But in ordinal gematria, that's 93. And this just so happens to be our 93rd day of the year. And if I get banned on YouTube, this is probably why. That's the last like 10 seconds. So if you never see another post or video from me, I probably just banned myself with that if this turns out to be correct. But it's all right. More time to do other things. Walk the dog. This one's very interesting. We're going to cover this later in the video. Our Julian date for this date is, what do you know it, 321. Just as Homer says before he's raptured. So very, very interesting. This is another interesting one. So at 322 days left, or at the 322nd day of the year, that leaves 43 days left in the year. So this is our skull and bones, and 4-3 is obviously just, we can split that up into our date. And as I covered earlier, that fits in with pi. So in conclusion, this fits all of our symbolism pretty well. Everything was easily placed on this date. The pi is obviously of great importance, so getting this on that date made it very important. And yeah, so yeah, for me, all the numerical symbolism fit. I put reaching with the moon phase. However, if we're still looking at the morning, then we would just be between these moon phases, which you could still assume that it fits. But yeah, this is the area here, and this is the day I'm leaning towards. If it happens here, I'm not going to be surprised. I don't think it really matters at this point because we've bracketed it in so much that like it's going to be one of these 3 days. Like if I'm wrong, I'm wrong, but I really don't think I'm wrong on this one. So as you see here, if you pause it and take a look at it, I was able to fit still a fair bit of symbolism on here, but this was the only day I was able to fit everything. This just fit everything, and it fit well. And it fit within the symbolism. It was a bit reaching with the moon phase, but for me, this fit very well. So that's where I'm going to stand on that. I'm open to being wrong, but I don't think I am. Like I think we're moving past the pale. We've reached the limit. Yeah. So the next thing we're going to look at here is we're going to briefly go over sudden destruction. So there is one thing I found with this date, which was very, very interesting. So I made a previous video. There was near Thessaloniki, where Paul obviously wrote to the church of Thessalonica, where he wrote 1st and 2nd Thessalonians. There was on November, I'll just put the date here, November 3rd, 2024. There was a 5.3 earthquake at 5:03 Greenwich time. So this time zone here is, I think, Greenwich +2 or +3, but ultimately it was 5:03 Greenwich time, 5.3 earthquake, and right by where the church of Thessaloniki was, or Thessalonica was located. So the chances of that, pretty well zero. This is definitely a message from God. So the interesting thing here is we're going to go over to the date calculator here. So we have the date that it occurred. So during this time, I believe, I could be wrong, but I think it was the 2nd in America. So give or take a day with this calculation, I wouldn't take it too seriously. You could probably go a day to the left or the right, but 153 days, exactly at the point where our symbolism for the church being here stops making sense. So that for me was very, very interesting. And almost like it seems like a confirmation for me. So that was very, very important. So I believe the church is not here for this, or perhaps that either, depending on like the time zones and such. Give or take a day, this fit very well. So that's definitely something to consider. So yeah, that's pretty well everything I wanted to cover with this. Obviously, you can pause and go back and look at everything yourself, and just take your time to kind of go through it. I'm going through this very quickly, but essentially the cliff notes. Church is not here for this. This would make sense for a possible departure, but this would fit all of our symbolism quite easily. Okay, so the next thing we're going to cover here is, geez, I'm like a lightheaded, but we're gonna keep going here. I don't know why I make videos after going for runs. It just doesn't make sense, but okay, so yeah, so we're done this part here. We covered the earthquake, and we actually don't have a whole lot left to cover here. So we're gonna go to The Simpsons here. We're gonna watch this again. We watched it in the last video, but yeah, we're gonna be going over this one with a very fine-tooth comb. There was some very good comments as it pertained to this scene, so I'll just play this now and take a breather.
My rapture, I went to Lisa's school play, which had serious pacing problems.
So there's our wolf moon, our 311-113 symbolism. That's shaped like pi, so we're on our pi mountain. There's your pi reference.
3, 2, 1.
There's your 321. Homer counts down. That could be your Julian date for 4-3. And the watch beeps 3 times. So that could be your 3rd day, or it could be your 3 days after the rabbinical New Year's. Again, this is something like, we could be right on here, but I think we're close enough in the time frame that like those who are left behind are going to figure this out very easily. And I think our job is what we've done, and we've bracketed in close enough here. So incredible find by, I think the username was R Junior 30. I'm gonna go look here. I feel bad whenever I get someone's username wrong. Like I'll like think about it for a bit. So let's go back. So where's our number crunch here? I think. Yeah, I believe this is it here. Right there, R Junior 30. So that's not the comment there, but I believe he pointed it out previously that cactus there makes a 4. So it doesn't look as much in this one. I think there's another shot. It shows it a little clearer. Yeah, right there. That's like an unmistakable 4. So this could be our Nissan 4. This could be our 4 for April, and then the 3 beeps are the day. Again, like the people figuring this out retrospectively will know exactly what it is because they'll have the calendars, the dates. We can just do our best guess, but for me, everything is it just fits in this scene. So if this is like Nissan 4 or the 4th month of the Gregorian calendar.
Oh, I'm wrong again! I'm nothing but a big fat...
Another commenter pointed out, let's go get their username here. Everyone's getting shouted out today. It's not that one. I think it was this one. Okay. For the sake of not making this video too long, I'll tag them afterwards. But he pointed out, just before Homer's raptured, he says big fat. So I didn't even know this, but big fat is like a term for like Mardi Gras. So let's go Big Fat Thursday. I think this is Mardi Gras. Maybe it's Tuesday. Okay, I think it is Tuesday. Big Fat Tuesday refers to Mardi Gras. So Mardi Gras, let's go, 2025, was on March 4th. So there's your 3-4, which would in fact just be the inverse of our April 3rd date. So there's another direct reference to your pi, your 3-4, all of that. So I think we're almost at the point where we fully unpack the symbolism within this scene, and that's a really good sign. So yeah, that's looking very good right now. So the next thing we're going to look at here is, this is from Journey, obviously. This one's a lot more ambiguous. I'll leave it up to you guys in the comments to kind of like discern this a bit, but for me, it's still fit. Everything's is just still fitting within these like next 3 days. So this is, sorry, this is where the rapture door opens here. And then we're going to be looking at the subtle symbolism here. So we have 3 stars behind him. And you're showing the rule of 3, like 3 items, quite a bit within this. So we have 3. So he takes between 3 to 4 steps. And he's taken. So the ambiguous 3rd to 4th step could essentially just be accounting for time zone. And just before he's taken, you see a 4 back here. So we're shown 3 and then 4. This could be 4th month, 3rd day. In reverse, this could be 3 to 4 in terms of like your time zone days. Ultimately, it's all still bracketed in. And then he's taken, and the time marker is 2-3. Oh, of course, there's your 2-3, which we've shown how that already fits in. So within those 2 scenes, everything just still makes sense within like April 3rd to 4th. So yeah, I think we're almost getting at the point where we've just like we've reached the limit of the symbolism we can decode within this, and yeah, it's just making a lot of sense. So very, very good sign. So the last thing that we're going to cover here is we're going to look at the convergences in the news. So if you haven't followed the news today, definitely check it out. So it looks like Iran is pretty well ready for a conflict, and that's coming to a head with either the U.S. or Israel. So that's coming to a head. China has now encircled Taiwan in a quote-unquote exercise, which, let's just pull that up, at some point is not going to be an exercise. That is going to be a live fire. That's a live fire exercise. But, yeah, so they're doing drills around Taiwan right now. Let's pull up Trump-Iran. Iran mulls preemptive strike on U.S. base after Trump threatens whatever he's threatening. So as you can see, everything's converging right here. And let's just pull up Ukraine piece here. So yeah, everything's within like the last like 8 hours. Like things are picking up and converging. So for me, everything's fitting perfectly on the timeline we're looking at. And yeah, I'm not going to say the whole last video thing because you never know, but this will be my 28th video, and my number in hockey was actually 28. That was my last number I had. So that's interesting for me. It's a very interesting convergence. So I would love for 28 to be my last video. That'd be quite fitting. Go out on my hockey number. I would love that. But yeah, so this is looking very good. Sorry if this part was confusing. As we were going over some pretty dense kind of numbers and like dates and such, like I probably should stop doing this after going for runs because I just get lightheaded. But I hope that made sense. If not, just go back and pause it and read it for yourself, and it'll probably make a great deal more sense. But yeah, that's everything I wanted to cover. And yeah, so in conclusion, as I've said many times in this video, right here, no symbolism makes sense. I couldn't make it make sense if I tried. This is the dates we're looking at right here, and as I've said in previous videos, we're almost at the point where we're not even going to be paying attention to symbolism as much as current events. So yeah, very, very exciting, and yeah, I'm just glad I got to make one more video at the very least. And yeah, so I hope you guys enjoyed this video. And if you have any good insights, just definitely leave it in the comments. And yeah, as always, please like, share, subscribe, and tell your friends. Thank you for everything. God bless you. Take care.